Hey, what is happening, Miles? Big
Going on?
ideas. How are you today, my friend?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I cannot complain. It's been a busy day. We're selling our house. Literally, it's pouring down rain. The septic guys just showed up.
Oh, nice.
Obviously, 20 minutes before the show. So I'm out there dealing with that, and I'm a little soaking wet, but that's the good thing about not having any hair. It dries quick.
That's right. Gotcha on that one.
So today's going to be an interesting topic, everyone, because we are going to talk about whether trade shows are dead. Will they come back? And what are we going to do in the meantime? I mean, this is a big deal, Miles. Like, you know, a lot of people, for one, I love trade shows. You love trade shows. We always had a great time. We went to the trade shows. One, because we're people, if that's the best way to say it. But two, I think also, you know, this is where a lot of business does happen for a lot of people. Not everybody, but a lot of business happens. And this is where you find new things. Right. What's going to happen?
Yeah. And even, I don't even think it's the trade show itself. It's just the one time a year when everybody in an industry is in the same place. And so whenever you're at a trade show, it's not like, yeah, you go to the show, but the business that gets done, like you're talking about, that happens after the show or before the show, or in some corner you sneak off to during the show, right, to have a conversation. So I think really the question is not yes, our trade show is dead, but like, how do we get everybody together still, even though we don't have a trade show? That's really at the root of that question. I think that's what people are searching for, is how do they still make those connections within the industry miles apart when everybody's not in the same room?
Yeah, no, I agree. So there you have it. If you are joining us, we are on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live right now, and we're going to be expanding to other live streams as soon as I figure out how to do that. So listen, hit that like and share button, please. And make sure, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and always make sure that you're following Miles, Biggs Ideas, and myself, whether it is on any one of those channels, because we do different content, a little bit of everywhere. I may even be using my personal YouTube channel here in the future, Miles.
All right.
The personal side of what we do. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So if you're joining us out there, please tell us where you're from in the comment section. Love to hear from you. Also would like your opinion on trade shows. Are they dead? What's going to happen in the future? How are people going to do business moving forward? Let's start with that, Miles.
Yeah.
You're in the marketing world. I mean, this is a big topic for you, I am sure. So why don't you unload on us a little bit?
Yeah, we're getting into 2021 planning. Right. Yeah. So I know we talk about it. You know, Dave, you always say, Miles, Biggs Ideas, right? So Biggs Ideas is my like holding company for my side hustles, the podcast, the TED Talk, the books that's coming out. Right. But on top of all that stuff, I do a day job still. And I work for a marketing agency called Mojo Active here in Pennsylvania. And so I'm working with clients all over the board: hospitality, medical industry, housing clients, B2B industries aplenty, right? And everybody's asking this very question. We usually have this XYZ trade show in January or February. What do we do? Is it they're not having it anymore? How do I still reach all those people? That's when I made so many sales. That's all of these questions. So the initial question, is it dead? I don't think they're like dead, right? I think they're like hibernating. Like, I think eventually they'll come back, but until there's a vaccine for COVID-19, we're going to be doing a lot more of this, right? We're going to be all in our quarantine little spaces. The world will go on. It's just going to look different. So I'm not ready to just say they're never going to come back, that they're completely dead. I think they're hibernating, and eventually they'll wake up and be a big angry bear that we all have to contend with. So in the meantime, how do we have those connections? I'm advocating for all the clients that I work with to do what you and I are doing right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to put yourself out there into those spaces where those conversations can take place, whether that's LinkedIn Live, it's your own video content, it's, you know, YouTube, it's, you know, email, like anywhere that like your community gathers. How do you insert yourself in that community, in that conversation, communicate with them? And a lot of that's going to be through content and inviting people in behind the scenes to what you're doing, which will then kickstart that conversation.
Sure. So, all right. So we have that. I mean, but, you know, there's a lot of people now coming online, you know, using video, using audio. Everybody seems to be starting podcasts now as another way to connect with their audience, or their consumer, customer, whatever the case is. How are we going to have these intimate get-togethers now? Like, this is where most deals get together, right? The president golfs, right? You go to trade shows, you typically go to dinner, or
Right.
you have an after party, and that's where the intimate stuff happens. It doesn't happen during all the hustle and bustle typically. So with that said, I think that's kind of where a lot of people are going to struggle. They're not going to see the value of this as being the intimate dinner party now, so to speak, right?
Right. And a lot of people aren't comfortable doing this. Like, they don't show up the same way as they do in an intimate dinner party when they can actually really look at the person and not do it through a screen.
Right.
And so they're not going to show up as confidently and not feel as good about that interaction. So many people I talk to, they get the idea. I get it, Miles. Right. I should do live. I should do video content. I know all these things. I hate the sound of my voice. I hate being on camera. And so then they just don't do it.
Right.
And that's unfortunate because, like we said, it's not going away. So
yeah,
I think it's going to be a lot of people, like with LinkedIn stories, we're starting to see it a little bit where people are taking you behind the scenes of their professional side of things. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to require us to be more human and just be straight up with people. Like, I'm wearing a hoodie and a t-shirt. You're not wearing a suit jacket all the time, right? It's like, you have to show people you and give them a reason to connect with you as the person, even more so now. And then they want to do business with you. So I think the content creation, mixing in a little fun, a little personality, showing the family how you're dealing with stuff.
You're right.
That's what's going to create that conversation to connect over. You're going to need more of those things to connect over when you can't actually, like, physically shake a hand and connect. You're going to have to find that common ground, and it's going to come through, like, oversharing, I think.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I think so. But that's going to be part of it. So Sean here, he had a comment, and I wrote him back, asked him if he wanted to join, but he's always busy. Sean, you're always busy. That's a good thing. So Sean McStay, Better Construction with Sean McStay. Sean has his own podcast, works for with SIGA Internet North America. Etienne, Etienne.
Yeah.
So I did a poll on this recently on LinkedIn, and it came out as 64% said they are out for 2021, but will be back. Only 7% said dead forever. Interesting.
Yeah. I think that is interesting. It makes me feel good. People agree with me, right? Even though I think they're coming back, I think we have to act like they're dead forever.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people will say, they'll come back. Like, I'll get around to that video stuff Dave and Miles are talking about, or that podcast. But we have no idea, really. 2021 could roll into 2022. We could be living underground in 5 years. Who the heck knows, right? So we have to act like they're not coming back and take the serious, consistent action like you are, Dave, at 6 days a week, right?
Yeah.
To cut through the noise, because so many people are doing it. It's going to make it harder to cut through without the frequency that you have, or being very authentic and showing the raw sides that other people are doing. Like, it's going to be harder to differentiate because everybody's out there differentiating, and there's more noise to cut through. So we have to act like they're not coming back and not just get around to it like everything else, because we'll get lost if we do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. 100%. 100%. I asked Sean, like I said, if he wanted to come on. He replied, would normally love to, but I'm on another call right now. Never miss a Dave Cooper live, though.
There you go.
I love it. Hey, look who else is joining in. Good morning. Well, not even good morning. It's afternoon. I'm losing my mind. How you doing, Etienne? I owe you a phone call. No, actually, I did call you back. I didn't hear back from you. Let's talk. Etienne, CEO of SIGA North America. They're doing a lot of great things, because this is a company, SIGA even, they embrace the social media, like Sean McStay with his podcast. Very, if you're not following Sean, you should. Definitely. Better Construction with Sean McStay, because they talk a lot about industry stuff. They talk about, just the same things we cover on this show here, Dave Cooper Live, and increasing influence, building materials, building science, what's happening in the world. All right. So Miles, what is going to be the best way when you're talking to a client outside of telling them to get on here and just start, yapping away every day like we do? And how do you get people connected? How are they doing business now? How are you feeling like this intimate party is going to happen? Because not everybody's selling a widget, right? I mean, there's multi-million-dollar deals that need to happen that are going on in different parts of the world that rely on these trade shows as a meeting place to get together. And now trade shows are dead. The follow-up to that is you can't even travel to this country or to Europe. You know, at least I don't think you can unless they open that back up again. So how do you get together?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's gonna be different for everybody, like you acknowledged. I think we're gonna have to have, as companies, this idea that we should also be connectors. So if I think about the company I came from as an example in housing, it was a modular home manufacturer. You gotta be more than a modular home manufacturer. You have to be like you're an association. You've got all these customers that are in the individual islands. You got to host your own virtual trade shows and bring your group together and provide them value, educational opportunities to network, connect, you know, professional development type things that you would depend on the association trade shows for. That you have to do that to be that source and to keep the conversation going and keep everybody in front of one another, even if it's virtually, because if you don't, somebody else will. So that the danger of saying I'll get to it or I'm not going to do it is somebody else will. Right. And everybody's thirsting for knowledge and that experience. And if you're not giving it to them, they'll get it from somebody else. And then they might start thinking, what else can I get from this guy?
Yeah.
And you could lose customers that way.
Yeah.
I think that's one way. What do you think? What are some things you've seen?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, you know, for us, you know, and I'm flat out saying, you know, this downtime has been, you know, wonderful for what we do. You know, and the social media and the platforms and the live on locations. And, you know, a lot of the things that we're doing with our clients is reinventing how we have those get-togethers virtually, you know, whether it's a live stream, whether it's a private live stream, and we're bringing people all over. You know, we could be on location, which you're going to see a lot of in the future, where we're giving clients walkthroughs where they can interact just like this, and we can put the camera on exactly what they want to talk about and how they're going to do it, and do it in high definition, do it with a quality stream. So we're kind of reinventing how companies can connect with other companies, right? Or other potential buyers. And I think that's, you know, just kind of thinking out of the box and how it's being done differently, at least on our end. You know, we're telling stories differently than sitting at a trade show saying, hey, here's my new saw.
Yeah, you think about it, like your computer is your booth.
Yep.
Right. And it's open 24/7. So what's your booth display?
Yeah.
I had a similar conversation with one of my clients at Mojo Active about they would like debut a new product at the trade show they went to. And I said, well, you should still have that new product. If not, you should have twice as many new products and set up a more consistent release schedule and debut it with that live stream. Have somebody be the MC and the host, sort of like the Vanna White, showing off the product, taking them around, you know, getting the camera in on the advantages and benefits of this product, what you fixed because people asked for it, open up that line of communication, take questions the whole time, have somebody ask them. And then it's like they're there, even though they're sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do that because you can't just expect them to find it on their own, especially with how much we're getting barraged with content. Going back to that noise idea I brought up earlier, there's a lot out there right now.
Well, and that's it. And that's kind of also knowing who your audience is and how you target your audience. So you're reaching to the right people. I mean, even on social media, you know, how you go about that, there's a very specific way to do it. And I think that's, you know, a real key getting into doing all this stuff. And I'm sure when Sean McStay's off his phone call, he can add some thought onto that because he's doing it as well. All right, let's look here. We got Ashley joining us. Hey, Ashley, good to see you. So afternoon, Dave, what a great topic. Interested to hear what others think. We are interested to hear in what you think out there as well. So how do you think this is going to go forward? If you own a business, how are you connecting with other people? How are you connecting with other people? How are you making sales? How are you doing business today? Especially if you're not a B2C shop, right? If you're a B2B, you don't have a store somewhere, you do business all over the world. How do you connect? So we'd love to hear it. Jennifer had a comment as well. Retail and trade shows, how will these make a comeback? Hint, hint. It's not about you. It's about the client. Focus on what you want your client experience to be, and that may help you craft your plan. Maybe. Well, it's
a good point about the client. You know, trade shows are about the masses, and it's like the shotgun effect. You know, now we have the opportunity to be very, very personal. Right. The messaging. So even if it's a live stream, on location live stream, like you said, Dave, but only for one client, right? Like I'm going to set up this personal VIP tour for you, Mr. Customer. And you might have to do that every single day, all day for 5 days straight in 20-minute increments, but that's what you have to do right now.
Yeah.
And then they're not worried about, they can't answer their question, or you're not worried about giving them the attention they need. It's very, very focused. And you can do that with this format.
Sure. How about virtual, Miles? How about virtual reality? I mean, that's another thing we're looking at. We just yesterday, we discussed on the show, we're going to show a virtual reality walkthrough of a client's project on this show on LinkedIn, demonstrating some of the newest technology out there, and trade shows are happening this way as well. And there is a way to use VR, or is it VR and IR? What's the two? Virtual reality and AR.
AR, augmented,
to bring stuff in. And I actually saw a display of somebody doing holograms in real life where it's projecting. Can you imagine?
That's pretty cool.
I could put you on my desk and all of a sudden you pop up and we're having a conversation and I can poke you like Winnie the Pooh in the stomach and it doesn't even bother you. But yeah.
The virtual thing was interesting. Put in perspective, I heard on the radio that Macy's is not offering pictures with Santa this year. And they've been doing it every year since like 1861, and now they're not. But instead, you're going to Zoom with Santa. You can set up like a virtual one-on-one.
Yeah.
But that's an example, right? Like they did the masses. They put Santa at one spot, everybody walks through. Now they're going to do this one-on-one, like delivering that unique experience for each individual family. I'm sure they have more than one Santa to make that happen. But, that's just a silly example. But, if they can do it for sitting on Santa's lap virtually, we should be able to do it as business people for our products and walkthroughs. And AR and VR, I mean, that'd be really cool. It's, hey, you mail them something in advance of the stream, right? Like a personalized box for this presentation where they've got whatever tech that they need. And then they've got it like there in front of them, you're doing something on a stream. I mean, I think what I love about all of this is that it forces everyone to be creative. It's no longer the same hit repeat on that trade show package you've been doing every single year for 5 years.
That's right.
I think we're going to see a lot of like the acceleration of marketing techniques and messaging and sales. It's going to force us to get better. And then it'll be interesting when that sleeping bear, the hibernating trade show bear wakes up in 2022, what it's like when everybody's in person again, how that stuff carries back onto the trade show floor.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do agree with that. And I think that's a great idea. The personalized little packages, send them out. Here's what it is. We were including all the return stuff. We're going to give you a 3D augmented tour of our whatever.
Well, so example, the marketing agency I work for, we had an awards ceremony for our association, marketing association.
Okay.
And you registered and excuse me. We got a little box. There was a beer in it. They had the sponsors for food, donated little snacks.
Okay.
And so there was a virtual happy hour like you'd have on a trade show where everybody had their beer and they had like a little icon that popped up on the video. And every time you saw this thing, everybody was supposed to drink. And so it was a fun little like drinking game with your beer. And then the whole meeting room was virtual. And they had virtual tables where you look at a picture of this table and you can see people's profile photos to see, okay, there are 7 people at this table and their faces, and then you pop in and then it's a group conversation like of us, like with all these talking heads, and you connect virtually about topics and kind of pop in and out. But it looked like you were looking at a picture of that trade show floor. Right. You go in and look at displays, you go into networking tables. It was just all virtual. So it's a little clunky at first because we're not used to the technology, but then it's just really cool because then it's easier. You don't have to travel, just there.
Well, it is easier, and traveling's expensive. Well, normally it's expensive, not that expensive now. You just gave me an idea. Maybe we should come up with virtual beer pong.
That'd be cool. That'd be the AR you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
You go like this, and it goes to the camera. Yeah,
it's going to change the whole college experience overnight. That's it. All right, let's see. Etienne wrote something here. Let's see what he says. Trade shows will come back for sure, but I agree with Sean McStay that 2021 will be a trade show no-go. So how to get the products out? Let's get people in rather than products out by doing inbound marketing.
Yeah, so that's always an option too. Bring people to you in smaller groups instead of going to a big trade show. People that are willing to travel, and if you can host them socially distanced and everybody's safe, then of course.
Yeah, and that, so I talked to a lot of manufacturing facilities, and one of the biggest concern is you don't want one bad bug walking in your facility and shutting down the entire plant.
Right.
How you do that in those intimate settings becomes a real factor. for sure.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Jennifer said, Etienne, absolutely. It's about the quality of the conversation, not the volume of conversation. Make your message count. That's such an important thing. And that's something that we talk about offline all the time here, right? Depending on who's on the show, what's on the show. I mean, when I look at somebody like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? And we bring him up regularly, and his streams, he has like, I don't know, 5 million followers on LinkedIn or whatever, but he's seeing that 300 to 600 people on LinkedIn. So when you do the math, it's not a huge number of his followers, on LinkedIn that are viewing him. But how do you have an intimate conversation like that? You don't. Like
you type your comment and you hope he pulls it up.
Really faithful, like in following and learning and watching.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. And it's just not going to happen in some ways, at least that I've seen. You can try to do it like we're doing right now, like inviting people to make a comment, you're pulling them on screen, and people can interact in the comments and meet people that way. And that's an option, but it does take a little bit more effort on everybody's part to make it a valuable experience. Yeah,
for sure. All right, let's see. Ashley has something to say. Virtual walkthroughs and get-togethers are awesome, but I do miss the random meeting of people you happen to meet at a trade show. How can we recreate that besides all the amazing people I'm meeting? Thank you very much, Ashley. Yes, I agree. And, the recreating of that, unless it's like Etienne commented with the inbound, type marketing, the only other way to do it is through video. It is through smaller get-togethers, intimate get-togethers, knowing who your customer is, and being able to bring them into these either public or private conversations. And there's, you just have to be more creative. Like you said, we can send them something. Let's send them a box. Let's have that party. Let's have that VR ready to go. Right.
Yeah. And I think too, for like the bumping into people, right? Like, I think we just have to assume no one's going to bump into us. And if we want to do that, we have to go make it happen, right? Like I create content, you create content. I always need new people to talk to on my podcast. We always need new people to talk on here, right? So I think more people need to just go bump into content creators and say, hey, I like what you're doing. I would have this to talk about. If you need a guest, let me know. Like you have to just put yourself out there to create those bumps, right? And then for the good stuff to come out of it, because it's not going away, right? You don't have to be the one with the show, but you can certainly hop on and be a guest and help tell your story. Because I think that's what Jen said too, right? About the message. It's not really about the flashy booth or whatever. Like every day is a trade show. Right. Every day is a chance to be telling your company's story, putting content out there, inviting them behind the scenes, talking about who you are and why they should do business with you. You can't wait for one weekend out of the year to make that happen. So it's just got to be a constant flow. And then it just snowballs and you build momentum because it lives out forever and people can find it for so long after you initially post it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. All right, everybody, if you're just joining us, please hit that like and share button right now and join the conversation. Are trade shows dead? Are they? Or are they not? Oh, I see the comments button lighten up. Oh, look who we have with us today. George Ryman. How's it going, George, from Phoenix?
Getting worried. Normally he comments right away. We didn't see George.
Well, it's a couple shows, mate. Well, you know what? I hope he's super busy.
Yes. He's doing his virtual trade shows right now, getting so much business.
Yeah. That's it. He's out there. He's always out there. So George is great. Jennifer wrote, Ashley, that's a great example of how you can replace that random meeting. While it's different than the in-person meeting, connections made online will be that much better when you meet that person in real life. All right. So we go back to this quite often, Miles. We talked about it on last week's episode about the video and how when doing these videos, even though people are watching you and seeing what's going on, one of the amazing things that happen is people start to sense they get to know you. They get to know your personality. They get to understand who you are. The other side of that is unless they take part in conversations, you don't know that part about whoever it is that's taking part in these conversations. So when they do come in and see you, like when we were doing all the videos for, home building, I mean, they literally walk in and talk to you as if they know you. And you'll sit there like, I have no idea who you are.
How'd you know that?
How do you know all this about me?
Right.
But then it starts, you learn, right? And that's kind of that is the true value. And I think exactly that comment right there that Jennifer and Ashley were alluding to, that video puts you on the third meeting versus the first meeting when you do get back face to face.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or even just gives you the chance to have a meeting at all. Right. Like,
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. I love it. Glad we got some banner going on today. George, any advice for a company that is reorganizing and setting up new email addresses and websites? I plan to forward the new info when ready to my contact list, highlighting our email signatures and engage Mr. Cooper to get the word out. I love it. Thank you, George. But hey, listen, George, Miles is a good person to talk about this, and Mojo Active and everything else they do, because this is what they do.
Yeah, this is like a fan club in your comments today, Dave. Everyone's showing you the love. It's great.
It is. I appreciate the love, everybody. I do. Even though I feel like I'm so just I've been playing with my camera settings. We're trying some new stuff out, some new lighting. I do feel, and I'm looking at myself, I feel like I just came back from the Caribbean. I really am not that tan.
I told you look tan. The light's very warm. Yeah.
What do you think out there? Is it a good look? I'm trying to hide the no hair, but it's I think it's highlighting it. I don't know. If you don't try, hey, there's another thing. If you don't try new things, you don't know.
Right. Absolutely. To George's comment, right?
Yeah.
George, if you're looking for advice on how do you get the word out about all of that, I mean, from a technical standpoint, everything you rattled off to actually forward it up. So if people go to the old website, they go to the new one. I mean, from a tech, yeah, that's what you want to do.
Yep.
And then it's just, you got to explain why you're reorganizing, setting up a new email, a new website. What's the reason? If it's a name change, like it's an evolution of the company, right? There's a story there that needs to be told. And so it goes back to what we're talking about, where how do you roll that out in a way that invites people in, makes them feel like it makes sense, they understand. You can anticipate any of the questions they're asking for what you're doing and why, and then answer it. And then it's just going to be that saying it over and over and over again. You can't just say it once, especially if you've had the existing name for years. It's going to take it a while to sink in. And you're just going to have to remind people over and over again that you're still there, still the same company, even though the name's different, and keep at it.
So with that, Miles and George, you're still listening. How important when you're setting up these new websites is it to be able to track the analytics, track the inbound emails, collect that information, to use it for drip marketing campaigns, to use it for just whatever one would need it for in the future. So as people are thinking about these fancy sites, and it's kind of the web, right? How do you grab people's attention, bring them in? But there's a whole nother side to that web, and that's collecting the information. And then how do you put them on the MailChimp campaign or whatever, right?
Right. It's the most important. It'd be like if you got a letter in the mail, somebody said, "Hey, Dave, I want to hire you and I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars to do this thing." But they didn't tell you who they were or how to get in touch with them. There's no return address on that envelope. It would be the most frustrating thing, right? And so tracking visitors, what sites they're coming from, what they're interested in, what are they clicking on, putting them into these little buckets so that you can target people based on the specific actions and what they did or didn't do.
Right.
That's how you dial in the messaging and you see what's actually working, and you get rid of what's not working faster so that you're not, wasting resources, be it time or money or whatever. And you get to the stuff that converts and gets you more customers.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's very important.
All right. Yeah, George, if we can help you, reach out to myself, Miles, and more than happy to give you some advice there. All right, Jenny Keller here. Hey, I reached out to you earlier today, Jenny. Controversial opinion alert. Trade shows are expensive, and actually prohibitively expensive for small businesses and startups. Digitizing networking like we are doing now is evening out the marketing communication playing field a bit. Yeah. Jenny.
Yeah, I don't know if that's all that controversial. I agree with her on that. Yeah.
I don't think that's controversial. I think it's reality. Talking to some people at the trade show last year that were there for the first time. It's tens for a small business, it could be a $40,000 venture without even blinking an eye, just for the booth, the setup, the time, the people, without even blinking an eye. That's probably even just a starting number. If you do trade shows out there, let us know what IBS costs if you go to IBS. Now, if you're whomever, DuPont or one of the, the big players, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars for them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Jenny's 100% right there. And I think, recreating what that digital personal experience is like is what's been great. That's what we're doing. And it's fun.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about the internet and content is you could be a one-man shop and make it look like there are 15 people working at your company and nobody's going to know. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as you get the work done, all these people, I've seen it where it's like, I'll have my assistant reach out to you and it's like info at, and you get a sense after a while. It's like, this is one guy and he's doing a really good job at the smoke and mirrors. But yeah, you can hire virtual assistants and, spread a team out and get it done. It's still going to be expensive to have a really top-notch website, and investing in equipment to do all the content, and you're expensive with your time.
That's right.
But you'll see the return quicker because all that's trackable. To that question you asked about data, Dave, if you're putting content out there and you're tagging everything properly and got the analytics set up, you'll be able to tell what's working, what's not, versus one weekend that cost your business 40 grand and you don't really know if you got your money back or not. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But you don't. And that's a big complaint typically with the big trade shows is, right? What is the return? 1 customer, 10 customers, 100 customers, you just don't know. But, I really want to dive into what Jenny has kind of said on this because, with the digital age, with social media, with marketing, we talk about it every day. It's not going away. And it does even the playing field for us out there, right? This goes back. Think about the numbers that we talked about last week with the social media and YouTube stats, right? And you have 1 out of every 3 users, on the internet are frequenting YouTube every day. I think it was every day, right? But only 9% of small business is using the video. It's probably grown since COVID now, but think about that. What a huge gold mine this is.
Yeah.
For people. And that's what Jenny's saying. It's evening the playing field because guess what? The big players don't own the ad space on social media. They can buy ad space, but guess what? I can just do a bunch of content and my stuff shows up right next to it.
Right.
And that's the power I think Jenny's talking about. Like it gives us a voice.
And you can use that data from your website to target ads on social, and you could spend a small amount of money, but it's very targeted and get a very good return for that versus blanket ad buying and, sponsoring something at the trade show.
Yep.
And, and again, just scratching your head at the end of the day, wondering what you got for it.
You'll lose your hair when you scratch too much. I love it. All right, everybody. What else we got out there? So if you're just joining us, we are live, like I said, on 3 locations. Hit that like and subscribe button. Miles, if you were to give anybody advice in the business world, when I called you, or we got online today, you were stuck on a call with another company. What is the biggest question they're asking you right now? So what advice are you giving them on the big 2 questions? What are they asking you? And, what are you guys focused on as far as giving them advice from Mojo Active? Yeah.
So the biggest question is this one, like, what do we do? Like, what do we do with the trade show now? Right. Like what's next?
Yeah.
Is that like fork in the road moment, right? Where, you can't take the left to the trade show. You have to go right, but you have no idea what's down that road yet.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest question is what do I do? How do I replace that effort and still get the results? And the answer is just different for everybody. It depends on the industry and the trade show and the level at which they were participating before.
Yep.
But the answer is on some level of the content side, either for some companies, especially if it's an e-commerce company where their business is selling stuff online, you can replace some of those efforts very easily with expanded ad campaigns that take advantage of the machine learning algorithms that are out there to target people when they want to buy, right? For B2B companies, when it's all focused on lead gen and how you get in front of the right customer at the right time, you're not selling, food online or anything, right? You're trying to build that relationship and the sales cycle is longer. There's actually, it's creepy when you get into the world of digital marketing, the products that are out there for that and how you can target based on email addresses, what's known as lookalike audiences. So people that look like the way you behave online, Dave. So like I can target you and people that look like you, basically like who's their data set looks like your data set, even though I don't know who they are. They're going to behave similar to you online. So I can assume they're going to be like you, which I know you're already my customer. So I have a better chance of, prospecting with them. You can expand that way. So it's taking it, and you really just have to start over. I mean, we do a lot of marketing workshops with companies where it's like, let's forget the fact you've been in business for 30 years. Where are you at today? Where do you need to go based on the new status of the world? And then how do we get there? Gosh, Dave, I'm losing my voice today.
Well, you're talking a lot today. It's a good thing.
But so it's getting very specific with strategy, and you can't just pencil whip it. And I think that's the response has been put it off. The election is going to be over and then COVID's going to go away. I've heard that from certain people and all this kind of stuff. That's just not true. Right. So I think step one, acknowledge it. That's the thing. And then you've got to get the whole company's got to be on the same page. And that's where a workshop event is really good, where you get everybody together, you get all your cards out on the table, you come up with that roadmap. And instead of it being like a whole year plan with how quick things change, breaking that into quarters, getting very specific about small actions you can do consistently to have a big impact, and just having that consistent touch point to revisit it and adjust as you need to. But I'm advocating for as many people as possible to do what we're doing with live streams, with podcasts, with email automations, focused on storytelling and solution telling. You can't really show them, see, touch, and feel the product. You've got to connect to the emotional need that they have for the product and what you can fix for them, and communicate the best you can in a remote situation.
Hey, get you some water, Miles.
Yeah, you're crushing me today.
Well, listen, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's funny. It just all keeps coming back to this. What we're doing. You got your big bottle. I don't have
my big jug
there. Hydration is key, Miles. I'm sure it makes you feel better and helps you through your day. We talk about it all the time, and since I drink water all day versus whiskey all day, that's probably good for my health too.
Absolutely is. Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun today, Miles. I'm off to the wonderful world of the VA hospital. It actually is a wonderful world down there. So that's the rest of my afternoon. I'm going to go hang out with some vets.
That's cool. That's good.
Yeah. It is fun. So, well, listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining in, man. We had a lot of comments. A lot of people tuned in today with us, Miles. I think it's great. I love the intimate conversations, and I definitely love the support from everybody out there. Miles, I know you do as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see you're wrapping it up, but I see a question from Jenny about podcasting.
Did I miss one?
So here,
no, let's put it up there. If I missed it,
I can reach out to you, Jenny, just acknowledge you after.
Question from Miles. I was cutting Miles off, Jenny. He called me.
I just saw it. So starting a podcast, I will reach out to you, Jenny, because this is a longer conversation than what I can address in this comment, because there's a lot of different ways you can take a podcast. So I think my umbrella piece of advice on that would be, you've got to figure out what you want the podcast to do for you.
Yeah.
What's the goal here? Is it just to get the name of the company out there, to highlight, employee stories, to, interview vendors? You're going to try to connect people in the industry. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can go with it. You've got to get clear on what that strategy is and stick to it so that you're not scattered, and then have good metrics in place to track it so that you know if it's working for you or not. A lot of people I know will start a podcast, not be clear on what they want to do with it. They do it for 3 episodes, then throw their hands up and say it's not working, and then stop. But like podcasts, like anything, you get the best out of it when you do it over and over again. Like we've talked on here about that big recognition I got, right? That came after doing it for 3 years. If I was looking for that like year 1 and then stopped because I didn't get it yet, I wouldn't have made it to that point, right? So you got to understand, like, beginning with the end in mind is the best thing in there. And then once you figure that one thing out, then there's a whole bunch of different ways we can take that conversation. So I'll start a dialogue with you and see if I can help you. But that's what I would say to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely want to reach out, Jenny. They do a lot of great things at Rise. A lot of great things. I don't even know what they have. Jenny, maybe you put it in the comments real quick, but I think you guys have over 2 million subscribers now or something. It's a big deal. They're really pushing the envelope, and they're putting a lot of great putting a lot of great content and conversation starters out there on a regular basis. So
That's
awesome. Great. So, all right, Doug Pill, nice job, gentlemen. Thanks for sharing. Doug was on the show earlier. Actually, it was just yesterday, man.
Yeah.
Time flies, right? I know it. And Etienne says, hi, Dave. Great plans for the afternoon. Thank them for their service. Let's connect soon. I agree. All right, Miles. I didn't miss anybody, did I? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Everybody, you have a wonderful day. Miles Biggs, Biggs Ideas. This is Increasing Influence every Thursday at 1 o'clock. Please be sure to tune in again next week. And tomorrow, be sure to join us for BS Friday, 1 p.m. with the Mark Bare Naked Willie. I'm Dave Cooper, and that right there is Miles Biggs, Biggs Ideas. We will see you next time. Thanks for joining us today.
See you, everybody.